Okay. Y'all heard that. We super uber duper lit this morning. Good morning. This is the Educational Arts Project. I'm your host, Viva Fidel. This is what we do each and every Thursday morning. You be with me for the next hour. We go in and really have some great conversations. This morning is no exception. I am honored to be here every morning with you all, that I'm here on Thursdays, 101.3 Live, the Pulse of Milwaukee. It's important that we start out by thanking all of our returning listeners, everybody that's out there spreading the word about the Educational Arts Project. I truly appreciate you. I get a lot of good feedback in these streets. The conversation is bubbling. And not because we're talking about a bunch of garbage, but because we're building solutions. Okay? Mm-hmm. The solutions are traveling. It's starting to make sense to more and more people. It's all about timing. It's all about connecting. So thank you to all of the new listeners that's tuning in as well. Make sure you tell a friend about this community platform, 101.3 FM. It's a great community voice. Not only the Educational Arts Project, but each and every host and all the different voices you hear on this platform are important. So, make sure you spread the word. Big shout out to all the sponsors and the underwriters and the people that make this possible, the people that are behind the scenes, pulling the strings, connecting the dots. And y'all already know I'm just riding shotgun. I'm here with the big bro, Joshua Jones, on the boards. Mm-hmm. Without him, it wouldn't be possible. So we thank you, Josh, for your dedication, everything you're doing to build this platform up and make it impactful for our community, impactful for our artists, for our entrepreneurs. It's critical, man. It's critical. And we recognize that right here on the Educational Arts Project. We talk about solutions, as I just said. We talk about community building. We share and tell stories, from a parenting perspective, from a artist lens, from a creative lens, break it down to the basics, and then we get technical. We get real, we create formulas, and sometimes it gets a little complicated, and we introducing ourselves to new language and new ideas and new possibilities when we're talking about solutions. I'm just glad to be able to introduce my audience to some of my friends, my associates, my comrades, my familia, my people that inspire me ultimately, so I can just call people up and I can be like, yo, please join me on this show. And they call me up and they say, yeah, next week. Yeah, never. Yeah, I got you. Either way, I'm always inspired because the people that I bring on this show, they embody the Educational Arts Project. All right. We do this so calculated, so intentionally. I'm very patient and I'm very appreciative for all my guests. So make sure you check out the archives. Some great episodes. My man Dale Muhammad, he always say we should just call them classes. Don't even call them episodes. Just call them classes, seminars, something, because it's a lot of learning, a lot of exchanging of information. And again, today is no exception. So y'all buckle y'all seatbelts. Y'all get ready. Get on your internet. Do what you got to do to set yourself right, because this next hour is about to be action-packed. In the studio with me this morning.
Good morning. My name is Aisha Carr.
See, I'll say a woman who needs no introduction, a woman who don't even wait for an introduction.
Right, sorry.
I like that. I like it. Aisha Carr is in the studio with me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I appreciate you.
It's been a minute, and I appreciate you, doubling back with me. You're a busy woman. You on the grind. Aisha is one of the educators that has, made it a point to take time out of her schedule. She's in the classroom literally daily with the students. We talk to educators from all different varieties, all different cultural aspects of arts, whether it's theater, drama, dance, film, cinematography, visual arts, you name it. We talk about it and we cover it here. Mm-hmm. And what's important is the way we interface arts and education and how it impacts our young people. We talk about early childhood brain development on this show. Mm-hmm. How do arts and cultural arts affect and impact a child, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old in their learning journey, their experience in this human realm? How do arts, colors, music, how does it all make sense? What does it matter in terms of education? Then we talk about it on the collegiate level, super academic level. Why is it important? Mm-hmm. We talk about it from a parenting level. What should parents know? How should parents support their little creative genius children? All of this is part of the Educational Arts Project. I'm really super excited about getting into the conversation with Ms. Aisha Carr. A lot of y'all may know that recently she was in a school board race. A lot of y'all may have heard her name or seen her name maybe in the local media. I wanted to give Aisha a chance or opportunity to just sort of do a little bit of backtracking. Because people got introduced to the 2017 Ms. Carr. Right?
She's been around all this time.
She been making moves, and, you know, people don't just pop up, in my point of view at least, you know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your journey. Introduce yourself for real. Who is Aisha Carr? Where are you from?
I am from Milwaukee, born and raised, of course. Was raised in Hillside. And I think it was called Lapham Park at that point, 8th and Brown. So between Hillside and 8th and Brown, that was my hood, my neighborhood, where all of my family was. Then we moved 21st and Cypress, house burnt down, and now we have a family home where we've been since like 1992. That's off of 25th and Hampton.
Real deep rooted Milwaukee.
Yes.
Milwaukee love here. So you're an educator and a teacher now.
Yep.
Let's talk about that journey. And did you always see yourself as an educator or a teacher? Like when you was younger, is that what you wanted to do?
No, not at all. So I have a 17-year-old sister, and I think I was about 12 when she was born. Yeah, 12. And you know how that goes. Parent, dad's working, and you got to care for the younger siblings. So needless to say, I hated kids. I practically raised her, and when I went off to college, I was not planning on dealing directly or working directly with kids. It wasn't until I got to my super senior year in undergrad where I interned for the Boys and Girls Clubs in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. And I was like, it's pretty cool. I was always active. I went to school for social work. So I have my undergrad in social work. And had a temporary state social worker license, but I did not stay in it. When I worked at the Boys and Girls Club, I got to work with kids on a daily basis in the operational or programmatic setting, and I learned about the trauma and the broken families and the low academic achievement. And so at that point, I had been offered an opportunity to work in Washington, D.C., intern for this White House project. And from there, I was like, okay, I want to get into educational policies because I see that, you know, there's a lot of issues. And I think there's systemic policy issues, ineffective policies that needs to be changed. So let me go out here and work, network, and land a job working in educational policies. And that opportunity, that internship led to a job working with former State Senator Russ Feingold. And so I worked there, and it was right in the heat of the campaign time. We called it the dark time. Worked there, and my job was cut short when he lost the race. And so I came back to Milwaukee. At that point, my biological aunt, who was my foster mother, was terminally ill, and so I needed to come back home just to be with my family, but I knew I wanted to stay in education. And so I met Denisha Tate from the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Milwaukee, and she was like, if you ever come back home, call me, I got you. So I called her, and I started working at the administrative office. And that's kind of how I got started. And even then, it wasn't direct services. Just being in the administrative office, you hear so much about what's going on at the school sites and what's going on with students involved in various programs, and I kind of wanted to be a part of it. And so one thing led to another, and the opportunity presented itself, and I was at James Madison working as the Community Learning Center Director. And it was a phenomenal experience. Met a lot of phenomenal kids, families, built relationships with staff and teachers who I still consider close confidants to this day. But even in that role, I knew that I'm still not where I need to be, because kids weren't reading, kids weren't interested in education, kids were dealing with homelessness, some of the same things that I had read about and even experienced a little bit of my upbringing. It was still happening, and I'm like, how do we educate them when we have all of these learning barriers? So at that point, I was determined to get in the classroom because in my mind, I thought that I was going to be able to change the world. And when I get into the classroom, all kids are going to be learning and reading at
bring it down a bit.
Reading level. And so, got into the classroom, and that was not the reality. And I've been in the classroom since, in the same school for about 4 years. And so a total of 6 years. And it's been a rough journey, a rough but promising and rewarding journey. Again, continue to develop strong relationships with parents and students from all walks of life. And it's phenomenal, but then when you dig deeper into the trauma and, the inequities, the housing and, economical inequities, it's sad.
It's real sad. And a lot of times, the students, for some of our students, school is an escape for them. It's an escape from that trauma and that stress that happens at home. Yep. And of course, some of our students and our teachers bring that trauma and stress to the learning institute, this school environment. So you have all these different wild dynamics. I actually used to do, trying to think how maybe 3 or 2 years ago, I was doing a restoration of consciousness class at Madison with Ms. Lucas over there.
Yes.
So I was over there maybe once a week for a semester or so. Okay. So I'm familiar with the third floor in Madison and all that fun stuff. So what are some of the things that the classroom has brought out of you? So I like the honesty in you saying, you were in it from one perspective, and then you were like, I think I can change it from this other perspective. And let me step in on the front line. Let me jump in the trenches where it's really going down, and let me give it my best effort. And you did it, and you was in it, and okay. So what's some of the things it brought out of you? Like, what did that bring out of you once you got in it? What happened?
For the lack of better words, it brought out this fearless, radical, fearless, radical leadership style. It got to a point where, I was so sick and tired of being rejected because I am a millennial. And I, in my mind, I've lived a lot of the experiences that my kids are living or, experiencing now. And so when I enter the classroom, I'm like, no, they don't need that. They need this. How do I know? Because I was there. And so I was attempting internally to change the mindsets and the perceptions of young black youth. And when it got to a point where I was constantly rejected, I just got to the point where I was like... You mean
rejected by students?
Complacency, complacent educators, in some cases rejected by parents, and some students. But for the most part, the students have been my most consistent supporters. So really, teachers and leaders. Yeah, because of policy. Policy states you can't do this, and policy says you can't do that, and this is district mandated, and we got to follow this because this is what they're telling us to do. And I'm like, let's just do what we know we need to do. Let's just go against the grain, and people weren't with that, and so it got to a point where I felt the need to work the system in a way that will work for me and my kids. And so a lot of my work that I've done with my students has been in the community and on my own time because it's been rejected by the school, or it was against policy, or schools couldn't allow it. And so it brought out this fearlessness to the point where I was just going to do my own thing because I felt like I knew what was best. And I didn't care what anyone said. I didn't care what anyone did. Take my job, take everything, but the work still continues.
Love will make you fearless.
Yes, yeah.
Love will
make
you fearless. That's right. That's right. And their love for you will make you even more fearless.
Oh yeah, yes. I recently experienced it.
It's deep. Their love for you will make you so fearless that you thought you were fearless, and then you got to do even more and go even more hard. And take even more chances, make even more sacrifices. and you are doing it out of fuel that comes from love. It's not from you wanting to be a radical internally, but love will make you radical, like literally.
Oh, yeah.
And crisis will make you creative.
Yep.
So you recognize this crisis that our students and our families, they're not isolated. The young folks are not in this by themselves.
No.
A lot of their families are suffering crisis situations and traumatic situations. So that will make you start to think outside of the box. And we all know that pretty much the American school system is outdated.
Yes.
It's a pipeline to prison. There's so much data and information that backs that up. That's not Viva Fidel's theory. That's real talk. And it's not a mystery. School systems here, that's one of the hot political topics of Milwaukee since I was middle school. Choice, voucher. It's public. It's all about the bread. It's all about the money. Who's getting the money? Where's the money going to? Right. Who are we giving access to the prisons, the prison beds versus who we giving access to quality education and opportunity. That's all by design. It's socially engineered, and it's been this way for 30 plus years in this city. It's not a mystery.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And I've learned a lot more about that just recently.
I'm sure. So just recently, you learned a lot more about that because you even took it a step further. Radical love will make you say, you know what? I'm going to jump in this thing even further. I'm in the trenches now, but I'm going straight to the other side. I'm about to cross enemy lines.
Oh, yeah. I'm about to take a $23,000 pay cut because about this. Yes. Yeah.
Love will make you radical.
It will.
Love will make you sacrifice.
Radical, irrational. And
Yeah. I was going to say, if that's the word, right? It'll make you crazy. And fearlessness and that passion, that compassion will also lead to some powerful impact in return in our future, our young people, our families, our community. So, and return ourselves. What that fearlessness brings out our own self is really what's special and important.
Oh yeah.
But you were in the trenches. You said, this is crazy. I ain't gonna make the world shift from here. I'm gonna have to step into that other world of shifting. And then you decided to run for school board, for office, and she drops her head.
Yes.
So tell me about what did somebody convince you? Did somebody say, hey, you would be great? Somebody say, hey, we need you. Did somebody come and endorse you, or how does that work in politics? That wasn't the case. So you took it upon yourself and you said, I'm going to look up the criteria, qualifications, what's needed here, because I want to shift what's happening here. And if I have to go into the inside, into the belly to shift the game, shift the paradigm, what was that process like? And what did it take for you to really just commit to that? Talk to me.
I would say this first. I move with a sense of urgency. I don't believe in wasting time. That is one of my pet peeves. I don't want you to waste my time, and I pray that I can reject any opportunities to waste yours. And so when it got down to it, I can't. I think it was in 2015.
That's more than a notion. Running for any office, getting in any sort of political arena is more than a notion. It's a lot to consider.
It is. It takes a toll on your mental sanity, your spiritual, emotional, your family, everything, finances. Yes. I had taken a group of my students to the 20th anniversary Million Man March in 2015. And I will never forget, it was actually being organized by another group of men. And they weren't moving fast enough. And I ended up saying something that kind of trumped one of their funding sources or something to this effect. And they had to basically stop and attempt to fundraise from outside sources. So needless to say, it's just dang, Aisha. I know you're trying to help, but you're doing too much. And so needless to say, when they found out that they couldn't raise the money or something like that, it was just okay, we can't do it. And I'm no, that's not an option. And so needless to say,
because we got these students looking forward to
yes,
it. And we're not setting them up for disappointment like everybody else in their life.
We're not.
Keep it going.
Word is bond. When you tell students something and when you tell their parents, and from this perspective, I know that many of my students, one, they don't know that a lake is here. They don't know about the beach in Wisconsin. Like, they don't know a lot about their city, their state. And so to take them out of state, that was something that was I was very excited to do. I was very excited to support at first and then later do. But I had presented it to my administrator. And because it was like 30 days away from the actual 10-10-15 event, he couldn't support it. And so he's like, I encourage you to continue to do it. MPS can't support this. And then I later found out that MPS wouldn't support it even if they could because of who it was associated or affiliated with. It was a huge risk liability. And so I'm like, okay, where's the policy that says this? So I kind of challenged in that regard. And, it was just like, we can't do it because this policy, that policy. And I got so frustrated. I'm like, I'm going to come back to that. I'm like, how can I change that? And so I found out about the board. And so this was 2015. I ended up riding the bus. We took a coach bus. It was actually sponsored by the nation leaders. So student minister William Muhammad and David Muhammad, brother David Muhammad, they were very supportive and was willing to do any and everything to get the students there. And so we worked together and we got the bus sponsored. But on the bus was the school board director who was in the same district, and I'm talking to her on the bus, and I'm telling her, like, I want to run for school board because of this, that, and the other. She's like, yeah, you should do it. And she's like, who district are you in? I'm like, yours.
Wow.
She looked at me,
and
she was like, well,
so you knew who she was.
I knew who she was.
She didn't know she didn't know what was going on.
She didn't know.
Wow.
But she looked at me and she said, well, I'm tired. She said, in so many words, let's build. Let's work together. And if I feel like you're ready, I'll step down. Because, I want to invest in my club. She has a clubhouse where she wants to do programs in the community to teach black kids about their history, who they are. Instill a sense of, self-pride and knowledge of who you are and your historical roots and so on and so forth. So we started working together, and she was supposed to step down. And she got to a point where she was comfortable. She was going to step down and pass the torch. And fast forward to 2016, August of last year, I'm holding my one-on-ones with people, trying to, gain support before I actually file the papers. And I meet with an individual in the community. They're like, no, she's running. And I'm like, what do you mean? She told me she wasn't. She's going to endorse me and this, that, and the other. They're like, no, she's running. And so that's kind of how it started. But
so what did that do to you? Where did you reach out to her?
I did, and there was no response. So I knew that the game was on. Knew that the game was on. I knew it wasn't. I didn't think it was anything personal. And this is one of our elders in the community. I would never go so far as to disrespect them. So it's change of heart.
Gotcha.
Somebody got to you, or they know what I bring to the table, and it may be different from what you bring, and so they're scared. And so I think I spoke with her for the first time after that, all of that, and like December.
So she's still in the seat?
She is. She beat me by 143 votes.
Okay.
Yes, it was a good fight though.
Interesting.
Lots of lessons learned, but I really just wanted to get into that seat not for any other reason, not for the power, not for the privilege or whatever, but because I have my eyes on set policies.
So let's talk about that. What for people who may not know, or for people who may just kind of be from a spectator level, what kind of power does the school board have?
I mean, they are the governing body that controls a $1 billion budget. It's a lot of money, and that money is being allocated and preserved for school programs, certain initiatives, specific curriculums, professional developments for staff, recruitment, retention efforts, all of that. And so that's power.
Absolutely.
It is power, and it's power that is being abused in some regard. And I'm not a candidate anymore, so I can say what I want.
That's right. And you on the educational arts project, so you can really say what you want.
Yes.
We are not politically correct on this platform by far.
That was one of the criticisms during my campaign. I'd have people in the audience like, "Shut up, don't say that." But yeah, I mean,
a lot of posturing in politics.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of posturing and
dress this way, take that out, don't wear those.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm happy to be back to myself now. But yeah, the school board holds a lot of power. It's a collective voice that is supposed to represent the needs, the concerns, the well-being, and the future of our kids.
So you were still educating actively in the school.
Yep.
You was running for the board, and you were doing a lot of things, coloring outside of the lines, making some people nervous and uncomfortable in their seats a little bit, because here this young, unapologetic, radical black girl, millennial, with a piercing in her face.
Yep.
Here she come talking that talk. Yeah, here she come talking that talk, and she's clearly in tune with the young people. She's clearly talking their language.
Yes.
They clearly have given her some extra energy and oomph in this.
All my energy.
Because a lot of people are disconnected from the youth, and you know when they're bureaucratic and systematic, it's a whole different vibe and energy and everything. So somebody like you shifts the energy in the whole space instantly. And so you there, and now you cross the line, and you're like, okay, what I got myself into. And then what started happening? Because then I don't know, I don't want to make it sound like that, but then you hit the news.
Oh my God.
Right?
Like, they were pulling, I'll be honest. I think in the beginning, people were very impressed because of the way I came on the scene. Like, people are familiar with the work that I do with my students. And I would say I've been doing this work for over 6 years. Or no, for 6 years. From the Boys and Girls Club days to teaching. I've always led behind the scene because I believe that it's not about me. You don't need to know who I am.
True.
You need to know who they are. And I'm going to do any and everything possible. Even if it takes all the life and the breath out of me, I'm gonna keep pushing until you know the names of my kids before they are buried 6 feet under. And so, I've always done projects, and I've never been this traditional teacher. I've always done home visits, even in some of the worst neighborhoods where, I've been encouraged and even threatened, you're gonna get rolled up. It didn't matter to me. If their parents weren't coming to school and the kids weren't coming to school, I'm going to you. I've taught classes at libraries, Mill Road actually, crazy stories. But I've taught classes on weekends when I couldn't get them in the class. I'm gonna meet you where you are. And so I, as the kids say, I does this. But during the campaign, it's like everything that I was acknowledged for, all the good, all of a sudden was anti-public education, I'm anti-union, you're this person, you're a liar, you're the supporter of this, that, and the other. And it's just like, what? Like, you donated to, crowdsourcing campaigns when I've raised money to take my kids here, there, and everywhere. Why is it a problem now? And so hitting the news, they got me on a field trip, and it wasn't even a field trip. Like, why do I need to submit this to the principal when this is not a formal field trip? I'm practicing with my kids outside of school because I couldn't do it during school. Like, I'm going above and beyond, and it wasn't a problem in the past. It actually made you look good.
Right.
Retain your kids, have them coming to school, have them even looking at you and viewing you differently and respecting you more. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. That's when I knew that people were very
That's when I
scared.
knew I had to reach out to you. That's when I was like, yep, we gotta make sure that she's supported and also acknowledged and recognized in the way that we're gonna shine a light on you. So really, for what it come down for me, I'll just say it like, if you mess with Aisha, you messing with Fidel. You know what I mean? So when we put a light on what you're doing in a certain kind of way, is to really, because I was sort of just asking around, and I was turning people on to what you were doing, because it came to me via students, it came to me via the media, and then I did my own homework, and I know it when I see it, and I said, okay, this is authentic, this is for real. She does this, and because the opposition tactics is weak, and they old, and they played, and they tired, and you see them coming almost a mile away. So. Well, you kind of did, because you just explained it a little bit. You kind of did. You just didn't know you did. But now now, like you said, they'll never fool you again.
No, never.
Because you'll sit down and have a conversation, and you'll be able to recognize the game instantly. Yes. And you'll be like, you know what? This person, she just running game. She just running so much game. Yes, indeed. That experiential learning, like we tell our students about, right?
Yeah.
Like you're taking them on them field trips, and you doing real events and doing experiential things with them that will stay with them for the rest of their life.
Yes.
That's critical. And on that level, I just wanted to say this while I was thinking about it. I haven't had grown men stop me and say, we know who your father is, and he changed my life for taking me on a field trip out of town. He just grabbing young men and my uncles and taking them to DC for a demonstration or taking them somewhere. And I've had men stop me and say that changed my life. Like that trip took me from one path to the next.
Yes.
So what you're doing is awesome, and we applaud it. And I want to say we recognize you and we thank you for investing that extra love in our young people. It takes a village, and I know it's bringing something extra strong and powerful out of you.
Yes.
Because when you give love, you get love internally. You know what I mean? So what you've done is sort of how you've created your own learning environment for your students. Has also created a learning environment for the public to be able to watch what you're doing, and other people now learning from your experience. Other people learning more about the school board process. I think that's important. I think you should talk about that more, even though it's in the past. I understand. I think it's something, because I like the way you jumped in. You went in for the right reasons. And guess how many people want to do that? That's a lane where policy can be changed, where change can be made, where lives can be impacted, where money can be That's one option. Run for school board. There's some people that are inspired like that. There's some parents that are inspired like that. They really thinking about it, considering it. So I just think your experience on that level of, you're not a politician. You're not a person who was like reared and raised and had a family who sort of groomed you, and like it wasn't about that. It was about your
street politics.
Exactly.
That's what I was exposed to.
And that's the rawest, realest. Out here. So I want you to talk about that more in public, just for the record. I want you to talk about that experience, and because it came from such a real place, I think it could be encouraging for other people, because there are more Aisha Carrs out there that can step up and shake things up a little bit. And we want to locate them and find them, inspire them, and link up with them and build with them and support them the same way. And I want to, on that, say also, it's really an awesome connection with that story with you saying it all kind of clicked on your trip to the anniversary of the Million Man March, and how you wanting to take your students to that is just a very telling story within all of that.
It is.
Big shout out to Muhammad Moss number 3, Gad Turner, and all the Muhammads.
Yes.
And so then the race is over. The race was over, and you did a lot of innovation. You turned people on to a lot of new ideas. You said things certain people may have been thinking but not brave enough to say out loud. And then you went back into the school building. Tell us about what happened at City Hall, the event that you did. Tell us, like, just I guess a small recap, but not it wasn't a small thing. It was a big deal. It's a big deal to bring the people to the politics. Right? The politicians wish they could connect with the people half the time. Some of them really don't want to connect with the people, but it's just game for election time. But you took the people, and the youth particularly, to the politicians, right into the mainframe. Took them into City Hall. Was this during February?
It was February 17th.
It was RBG'd out. It was all kind of Pan-African flags on the promotion and stuff. I called her. I said, yo, I got to reach out. Who's doing this? What's going on here? This is amazing. So talk about how that all came about, because
this is one of my favorite stories. So if I can, I've taken my kids to Toronto, Canada.
Wow.
We've gone to see my favorite author, Sister Soldier, the author of the book that we were reading in class. we've done so much, but let me tell you, one of my proudest moments, was City Hall. And I'll say it because, I'll say it for a few reasons. One, I had just been, promoted to this culturally responsive teacher leader position. And this was under the Black Lives Matter resolution. And I was excited because now I got a title and I can actually do without watching my doors or trying to figure out when they're going to call me in the office. I can actually do the work that I've been doing, but unapologetically, because it's my role now. It's my class.
So did you create that, I don't want to say title, but you obviously created the position by your work. So how did that position come about?
The Black Lives Matter resolution.
Oh, gotcha.
So actually, Baba
Gotcha.
Rogers, Derek Rogers, Khalil Coleman, Sam Alford, Jamal Smith, so many people, so many solid people in our community came together, and there was a committee.
I was a part of that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I'm learning. See, yeah. I'm sorry. I was supposed to be a part of it.
Bible called me to the table. I think I was still at transition. I think I was still teaching in transition on a weekly basis at that time.
Okay, yeah. Ashley Lee actually reached out to me. I had posted a picture of a restorative circle that I did in my class. I talk with my hands.
Because you're a genius. Most geniuses do. That's just what we do.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I thought something was wrong with me.
No, we call those rap hands. It's the mind moving, and you drawing pictures, and you making it happen.
Have me leaving here thinking I can freestyle.
You be flowing.
But yeah, Ashley Lee reached out to me after I had posted a picture of my restorative circle that I was doing in my class, and we were actually doing activities to kind of get everyone familiar with the introduction of who Sister Soldier is. And so posted that, and she was like, hey, you should join our committee. And I was supposed to come. I think I came one time, couldn't get in the door and left. But that position was created from you all's work, in addition to Director Larry Miller and Dr. Smith from UW Milwaukee writing the resolution. And so from that came the comparative ethnic studies class, and they identified 2 teachers, me being one, and Lucas Weir, who's super dope, conscious at SCTE, Obama, Obama. He's over there, but they chose 2 schools to pilot this program out of, and so my school is one. Where are we going?
We were going to City Hall.
Yes.
RBG'd up with the students, Black History Month.
Yes. So we had attended I think 3 youth summits in between October and December, and I will never forget the final one. My student, it was a panel discussion. They were trying to get questions from the audience, and I nudged one of my students and I said, stand up and ask a question. He always talking, but this time he was silent. And so he was like, Ms Carr, I want to ask. I said, get up and ask the question. So he stood up, asked the question, and sat back down, and he said, I don't know why you want me to ask questions anyways. It ain't like they listening to us. And he said, look around, Ms Carr. This the 3rd one we done been to. Yet, where's the kids that are leading? He said, this supposed to be a youth summit? And he was so passionate yet frustrated. And so I said, well, what are you going to do about it? In our class, we talk about problems, but we talk about solutions. And so I said, well, what are you going to do about it? And he said, well, what can we do? Here I go. Next day, I come with a whole rubric, packet of paper, consent forms. We're going to City Hall. I didn't pick the location, but I said, you all are going to do your own youth summit since you're complaining.
Wow.
And so I said, and I'm going to use this as your final exam. I am going to assess you on not only reading, writing standards, but speaking and listening standards as well. And they were nervous. Some were excited. I told them, media is going to be there, and I'm going to give everyone in the audience a rubric, and they're going to critique each and every one of y'all. This is your grade. Your grade depends on it, so you better bring it.
Wow.
And yeah, they talked about everything that we had learned about in the class from October through February. And it was the Willie Lynch letter and colorism, globalized internal racism. We talked about mass incarceration. We watched the 13th documentary. We talked about racism and the history of race. We watched the Hidden Colors, Hidden Colors. We watched American History X that talked about white supremacy. We did a project in class where we unpacked white supremacy. It was like a scavenger hunt. They have so much fun. But we learned about so much. We talked about Dr. Gloria Ladson-Millen's culturally responsive or culturally relevant teaching. And what does it mean to build with students and understand the holistic development of students. So we talked about it all. And at City Hall, they spoke about everything they learned. And I had hands off. It was the days leading up to it, it was very disorganized. And we had support come in from central office to help kind of organize the actual event and whatnot. But the kids, the concert, they knew it because they lived it and they understood its relevancy.
I loved it. And again, when I saw the promo and the way it was worded, I said, "This is it right here."
And they did everything.
I already know. Everything. That's what you know when you see certain initiatives or even just certain language. You know when it comes from the root versus it comes from the top somewhere and what people thinking and whatever have you. So what you just really expressed is so critical, and that's also, again, that goes to speak, like, I heard about you from students because of your work and your initiative of giving them the lead. They talk about that. They want to express how, what that means to them. And they're in their own world, they're sharing with their peers and other people in their lives about somebody that's giving them the leadership. Not even giving it to them, but somebody's just allowing them to take their leadership and take their intelligence and articulate what they've learned in their own way, giving them their own platform. It's huge. It's critical. You had poetry, you had spoken word, you had performances at City Hall, you had the young folks speaking in their own languages, and I heard it was pretty lit.
It was. It was phenomenal.
There's footage online? Was it documented?
Vaughn Mays actually did a live video.
Okay.
And so it is Hearts, I believe,
okay,
online. That if I could change anything, given that they made sure that media wasn't there, I would have been prepared because that's something I want to show the world.
And that's exactly why I asked.
Yeah. And the beauty of it was I was, of course, campaigning, but I didn't want to use this event as a campaign, and so many people were like, "Oh, you're going to get in trouble, and this, that, and the other, and you're just trying to campaign." I said, no. I said, I'm not going to even speak any longer than, 5 minutes? I said, but understand this, my kids love me, and they understand what's being done. They're going to sing the praises. And I said, I'm not going to have to say anything.
Right.
And sure enough, it turned into like Ms Carr this and Ms Carr that. I even got teary-eyed.
Yo, because it's that real,
yeah.
And the students appreciate it, and they want everybody else to know that there's somebody who loves us, who cares about us, who pushes us to be excellent, who wants us to succeed. They want to promote that. They want to tell everybody that because it's a way for them to show other adults how it's done.
Absolutely. Yep.
So we got to give them platforms to give Miss Aisha them praises. That's important. Maybe in the summertime you can bring some of your students on or something.
Oh,
so we can. That could be another field trip. They can come and talk on the air. Because I'm planning for a few different educators to join me once school breaks. Because a lot of educators I've reached out to, they just can't make it in their schedule. But they have let me know, as soon as school let out, I'm there. Because I want to talk about what happens in the classroom. I want you as a classroom educator to be able to talk to the parents who are part of my listening audience and say, hey, this is what you need to be aware of. Hey, this is what's going on in these classrooms. Hey, this is what you need to ask your child. Some parents just don't know, and a lot of parents may be really tied up trying to survive in this apartheid like Milwaukee, and they can't really make it to maybe parent-teacher meetings. Maybe they can't make it to, it's not that they don't care. It's not that they don't love their children or they not interested in, I don't like when parents get written off like that. I don't like when our parents get disrespected and just sort of, I'm judged on a level of people when people don't know. You know what I mean? You can't make no assumptions about these children's parents, and, certain things you may, through very experienced eyes, and you know things and you've been around, but, from the outside looking in, it's not that easy. You can't paint our community like that with a broad stroke of just negligence, like nobody cares, and I don't like that. And so, because I know that ain't the case.
No,
I'm in these schools, and I'm in several schools a lot, and I see dedicated fathers. I see dedicated mothers involved, and teachers who go that extra length and care and sacrifice, and who work together for the success of the children. And so I'm all about promoting the positive. I'm all about making sure that we can conversate about solutions on a whole collective level, because they're out here. You a builder, you a pillar in that school building, but it trickles out. It trickles out into the community. There's so many different people doing great things amongst us. We have to figure out how to highlight and support each other and get behind each other as it's happening. Not waiting until somebody else validates it. Not waiting until it fizzle out. Not just being an observer or a gossiper, wanting to talk about it, but putting in the work, supporting, volunteering, whatever it takes. So if somebody's listening right now and they like, wow, yeah, I heard about her. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I support her. Yeah. Is there a means that people can support your educational practice or your community action?
Facebook, social media.
Okay. How can they find you on Facebook?
Aisha Carr, Aisha, Carr, Carr. Message me if it's specifically about my class, opportunities and whatnot.
What do you need in your class if anybody's listening and they want to support? Is there anything that you just throw out there that you may need? Supplies, resources, anything?
We are planning a trip to New York.
Okay.
So my seniors this year, actually, the group of students that I taught my first year of teaching, so they've seen the growth. We're planning a trip to New York. We're going to do a tour of the state. And so funds, and I don't really know how I'm gonna go about that yet. In the previous years, we've done GoFundMe's. This time around, it was just like,
has that been successful for you?
It has.
Okay.
It has.
That's good.
It has. I haven't, because of the campaign, I've kind of slacked a little bit in that regard. But I got to get on that.
Do you see yourself going back into the political arena? Do you want to give it another shot? Do you want to give it another go?
You know what? I will say this. Because of all that I learned, and now that I'm rested and I can think straight, maybe not. I do
Spoken like a real politician.
I will say this. I believe in staying in my lane. So I can't see myself doing anything that isn't directly affiliated or associated with education. That's my lane. That's what I know. I can't tell you much about, environmental policies and all of that. So in saying all of that, if the school board director does actually step down and, that seat opens up or whatever, I am definitely open to that.
You're open. The possibilities are open. Y'all don't got to get nervous. Y'all don't got to get nervous. Calm down. Y'all don't got to get nervous. Put the phone down.
And you know what? I'll be honest. That urgency, I don't know what's ahead of me. I know that housing is an issue. Now, because of the class that I'm the closest with, graduating now, I don't know what issues they are going to face. And when I say they're stuck with me, those are lifetime bonds. And so my kid comes up to me afterwards like, I graduated from college, Ms Carr, because you told me to, and I can't. Right. I don't have a job. That's gonna be another issue because I gotta ride with them. Or they have children and housing issues. I don't know.
That's real. That's real. But you do, because you're sort of speaking it, and that's real. And so as they evolve, we evolve. As they grow, we grow. As the dynamics of what's needed changes. We adjust and we change. So that's a great way to look at it, and that's a great way to stay focused. It's great to hear.
Yeah, I'm everywhere.
I know, but from the outside, I'm just saying, I just want you to know that's a good way to keep your own internal resilience, because you don't know, but at the same time, you ready.
I'm ready for whatever.
I know.
Soldier's always ready.
Yeah. So you have some more events coming up next. Soldier, tell the people about it.
Yeah. So,
or are we letting that out the bag? Are we going to talk about it?
I can give a little.
Give me a little bit. Okay.
Brief overview. So we are working on another project. And disclaimer: this is not an MPS sponsored or affiliated event. And so we got to go out with a bang. It's the end of the year. Poverty is an issue. Homelessness is an issue.
Big time. It's a big time issue, especially with young people, particularly in Milwaukee.
Yep.
And that that problem does not get enough exposure because that is the cause of a lot of other problems that we see in the community. So we got to pull back the layers. We got to talk about these things from a realistic standpoint, from our family standpoint, not just, from the idea of the after effect of the problem, or thinking about it about just like a quick fix. As leaders and influencers and people who have young people in front of them, listening to them especially, we got to learn how to take our time and peel back the layers of some of these issues in our community so we can stop and process them and understand them. That'll help us, create some sort of equation to move forward. If we start to realize all the parts, rather than just being like, oh, little Johnny stole a car.
Right.
That, you know what I mean? Like, little Johnny did way more happened to little Johnny before he went and peeled that car.
That's just when it affected you.
There you go.
A lot of times people are so reactionary.
Thank you.
Especially in this community.
Thank you.
We talk about solutions. We don't act on those solutions. We know what the problems are. And fact is, in the classroom, there's a such thing as learning barriers. You're telling me to teach a kid algebra, teach a kid English language arts, yet this kid mindset is stuck on hustling because they got to provide. It's unfair. Like, the innocence is taken from so many of them. They don't know what it's like to be a child. They can't focus. And it's not anything that a conscious decision that they're making. They just can't because
or they don't have a learning disability.
No, forget them disabilities.
And that's a whole nother episode, people. That's a whole nother show. It's a whole nother episode, a whole nother show, because you're in that area of education.
I am a special educator, and I take much pride in that.
Indeed.
But let me tell you, I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead, please.
I have seen so many instances where I don't want to deal with that kid, and I know that, and this was a while ago, I don't want to deal with that kid, and I know that the best way and most effective way to get rid of that kid so I can go on and do whatever is to label this kid. Because if I label them, then they're emotional behavioral disorder. Then they're stuck in a solitary confinement, is what I call it. But they're stuck in a most restrictive placement where I don't have to deal with that problem. So we constantly put bandages over the issues instead of looking at the kid for what he or she brings or what's going on and saying what happened to you.
That's right. We're going back and again peeling back them layers and figuring out how we can help from the ground, from the base. And a lot of times that's helping moms, that's helping grandmoms, that's helping dad.
Going above and beyond.
That's right.
And that's what, I don't get paid for half the stuff I do. In
That's
fact,
right.
most of my salary goes to my kids. I've sent food. I've gotten groceries. I've gotten grocery cards because mom was so prideful. She didn't want any direct association with me, so I had to send it through the kid, and the kid gave it to her. No questions asked. We help kids in situations where no lights come together, put money in, to the point, I've taken away from my own daughter, taken away from my own home, and these are true stories, no lies, but I learned about that when I go into the communities that my kids live in. When I go into their homes, there's no fear. I can't fear you, otherwise, what am I here for?
That's right.
And so, the barriers are real, and I'll be honest, I'm so happy, I feel blessed because of this class, because I've been able to work with them in my own way and not be judged or evaluated or criticized for anything else.
And it's not a job for you. It's not
a calling.
It's not something you wake up dreading every day. And I just again want to thank you. I want to say that we appreciate you going above and beyond. We appreciate you giving extra love. And I mean, I get full. I get choked up when you start telling them stories because I know how real it is. Yeah. I know how hard it is for some of our babies out here. I know what some of them are going through, and it's heavy. It's heavy, yo. It's heavy. And when you have to face it and directly confront it in order to show love, in order to like make a way for a teenager who never had a chance, almost, it's deep. And some people don't understand that type of sacrifice, or they might see you as a strong person making moves, but on the real, that sort of sacrifice is commendable, and I appreciate it, and I love you for it, and I thank you for it.
Thank you. Vicarious trauma is real.
It's so real.
And that's
it's
something
so
we
real.
know. When we talk about recruitment and retention of quality teachers, you gotta take care of teachers. So let me tell you, I put on the front, and that's what I learned even in my campaign. Like, I'm tired of fronting. I'm taking this mask off. These issues are real.
That's right.
You take that stuff home.
That's right.
And then you have a family.
That's right.
You have kids and wives and husbands, and it's just like, I can't function. Yeah.
That's valid. But you know what that just reminds me of? That full circle of where you started talking about you raising your little sister, and there was no way around that.
No,
and you were trained, or you were prepared for that one way or the other. Even if you weren't prepared, they thought you were prepared. They was like, she gonna be prepared, and she gonna make it happen, and she's gonna be responsible, and she's gonna be the big sister. And it puts some unconditional everything in you.
Oh yeah.
It puts some make something out of nothing in you. Yeah. It puts some I'm gonna see this through in you. And so sometimes, in life, those full circles, they're so real that we don't realize like you said, it's a calling. Like sometimes, you don't realize it. And again, hustling, again, trying to survive in this environment. Sometimes you may not get a chance to come up for air to even actualize that, because a lot of people are under a lot of economic stress, and that's a light way of putting it. In Milwaukee, particularly. But this broadcast goes across the world. I get people who chime in from a lot of other places, and they deal with the same issues in their public school system. They deal with the same issues in their family environments or in their communities. So it's so impactful what you're saying. When you gonna write a book?
I'm not a silent person, but I don't have no comeback.
You ain't ready for that?
No.
We want to thank y'all for tuning in to the Educational Arts Project. We'll revisit that. We'll revisit that, Ms Carr. And then we're going to call you Dr. Carr next time you come back to us for the record. All right, Doc? We're going to call you Dr. Carr. Y'all make sure you tune in today. Joshua Jones is rocking it out. 101.3, the Pulse of Milwaukee. This is the Educational Arts Project. I appreciate each and one of y'all for tuning in. We'll be back next Thursday, 9 a.m. You got any last words?
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate everyone listening. And stay tuned and stay involved.
We didn't even get to touch on that event you got coming up.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Send me info on it.
Okay.
I'll announce it to the people. And I know you letting it out the bag slowly.
Yeah.
But you're doing big things. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you very much.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's awesome.